Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon here. We had a lot of company earnings today. Caterpillar, Starbucks, AMD, Uber, to give just a few. So we're going to go over those very briefly and also take a look at our major indexes, our major big tech names, and also give you guys the trades that I made in my portfolio at the end as per usual. So without further ado, guys, let's get started. So SPY, roughly a minus 0.3% day here. QQQ, minus 0.23%. So not a very good day on the markets as a whole, but not a very bad day either, right? Kind of just inside trading our last 3 days here on both of our major indexes here. So a bit of a muted day, but what I did want to go through first are our earnings that we came up with, right? So firstly, we had AMD, right? AMD, pretty much the biggest name on the day. They're currently up almost 5% in after hours trading. However, I didn't really like the report that much, guys, to be quite honest with you, right? So you can see here, AMD revenue falls by 18% as PC market shows continued weakness. So a bit of a mixed report here, guys, if I do say so myself. They actually beat on EPS ever so slightly by a penny, and they did beat on revenue, which is largely responsible for their gains in the after hours. However, their guidance didn't come in too good at all to spare you basically all of what they were saying. Basically, their processor chips, right? So the computer chips that they use, not the GPU segment, the graphics card, the PC segment isn't really doing too hot. They noted really weak PC segment as a whole, and also their guidance was that Q3 wasn't going to be so great, but Q4 was going to be able to recapture a lot of it. So not too good on that. Their GPU unit, however, right, that competes with NVIDIA, did actually perform well. And they also gave a bit of guidance on how they're going to adopt more and more AI as part of their business model. So all in all, guys, kind of a mixed report. I'm actually very surprised that they jumped in the after hours trading. The earnings call is going on right now, so I'll have a read on exactly what was said by Lisa Su, the CEO, here afterwards, but kind of a mixed reading, but good for us, guys. You guys remember we had the 104s, so those will be pretty much worthless tomorrow. Can't complain at all. AMD making some good movement. Second off, we had Uber this morning. Now, Uber dropped 5.68%, and now they're down even more after hours, right? So almost 7% total drop. However, right, Uber has run a lot in anticipation of these earnings. You can see since last earnings, they're basically up pretty much at this point, right? A lot, 41%. So this move was pretty much entirely baked in. Now, Uber had some very good earnings, and I don't think that the price that happened, the intraday price change, it's not really reflective of earnings, okay, guys? I just think that a lot of the price appreciation was already baked in. So you can see Uber aims to be a wider travel app as it turns its first profit. What we had down here, guys, right? They had their first profitable quarter ever, which is amazing. If you see right here, right, they actually reported positive earnings per share. Good revenue increase as well, right? 9.23 billion compared to last quarter, 8.82. So good revenue growth, guys. But as you'll see, right, we were always pretty much negative in EPS. I think they have one positive quarter, which was an outlier here in Q4 of last year. But for the most part, guys, they've been putting in, to maybe not their first EPS profitable quarter, but in terms of free cash flow, definitely first positive quarter for Uber, right? So you can see that the revenue grew 14% year over year. Costs climbing only about 2%. So very, very decent, guys. They did beat on both revenue estimates, and they did forecast for further increases throughout the year. So Uber, all in all, I did like this report a lot. However, the price appreciation kind of played against them, in my opinion. They've already really baked in a lot of this price growth that they've been having. But all in all, I did like the report, guys. Uber is becoming more and more of a healthy company, and it's definitely starting to show in their financial statements. Uber, for me, was definitely a buy in the 30 range, getting a bit rich for me. So if we do see some weekly pullback, I could be tempted if ever we revisit the $40 or sub $40 level. That would be pretty much a good area for me. Next up, we have Starbucks. Starbucks, also a big one, took a position on them. I'll show you guys that after. So as you can see, Starbucks here in the after hours, bit of a mixed reaction here. They're actually flat after hours, right? So let me explain to you exactly what happened on Starbucks. Now, Starbucks beats earnings estimates, but sales disappoint despite the China boom. So this was one of my narratives for this company, seeing as how China was shut down for a better part of last year, and a lot of Starbucks' business does come from China. We were expecting that to resume with China being reopened, right? Look at this. So the coffee giant same-store sales in China skyrocketed 46% in the quarter. So good resumption here in China as a whole. Their same-store sales grew here nationally, right? Or pretty much in their North American market, 10%, which was slightly below estimates of 11%. Not a bad report as a whole. They beat on EPS, so they brought more money to the bottom line. They disappointed on revenue though. So a bit of a mixed report, but all in all, guys, Starbucks is on the uptrend. They're starting to recapture their momentum that they had prior to the 2020 through 2021, 22 pandemic events, right? So very, very good by Starbucks. It's one of my favorite companies in the world for obvious reasons. And obviously, they are getting plagued a bit now by the potential recession fears. As people have less disposable income or they feel as though inflation pressures are up, it's very tough for the regular consumer to go out there and spend $5 to $7 on a latte, right? So there's been a lot of substitution for lesser brands. But all in all, guys, very, very, very decent report by Starbucks. Really nothing for me to pick apart here. Like I said, they're still on the uptrend. And as a result, their share price really didn't get hit too much, right? Starbucks still offering a pretty decent discount here from the all-time highs, about 20%. So they are definitely underperforming their index counterparts, right? Like the S&P 500 or even the Dow Jones potentially. And now lastly, let's cover this briefly. Caterpillar, monster day, all-time highs, right? So it's no secret that there's been a very, very big construction boom here in the last year, right? As people search for more and more affordable housing, the government's unlocked projects, right? There's been a lot of infrastructure payments, especially by the US government, to get big infrastructure projects online. And that has showed in Caterpillar's earnings. One of my favorite stocks, guys. It's just a bit rich right now for my liking. Even prior to earnings, right? They were still flirting with all-time highs. It was a very good play down here before, a bit before I started the channel, right? I was doing some Caterpillar options in the lower 200s, but now, higher 200s is not really where I like this stock, even though I do feel that it's one of my favorite companies, one of my favorite value names out there, because honestly, they have a near monopoly with John Deere, right? In terms of either construction equipment or tractor and farming equipment and stuff like that. They're just the masters of big, heavy machinery, right? So margin forecast was beautiful. They're increasing margin, increasing revenues as well, send shares to all-time highs, right? It's no secret there. Strong demand for heavy machinery from construction and mining industries was expected to drive full-year operating margin near the top end of its prior forecast. And you can see down here what Caterpillar has been doing here over the past year. They've increased operating margins from 14% to roughly 21%. So obviously getting very, very well rewarded for that. I personally love this stock, right? It's just a bit too rich for me. But for the long-term portfolio, if you have Caterpillar shares, there has never been a reason to sell this company, in my opinion. They always tend to outperform in the long run and have some good share appreciation as well. Obviously, it's not a growth stock, but it's a very, very defensive name that performs well in most environments. Now, let's take a look at our major indexes, guys, after those earnings. Right before that, we're going to take a look briefly at the earnings that we have coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow, PayPal, Shopify, some Qualcomm here, Unity, of course, right? And we got a bunch of companies here reporting prior to the open here, a couple healthcare names, and we also have Generac. Generac's going to be one that I'm going to be following closely. So that, and then obviously on Thursday, we have our big players here, Amazon and Apple. Now, S&P 500, guys, S&P 500, bit of a muted day, right? Bit of a muted day, kind of a inside trading day within the last 3 days. So I'll remind you guys, we're still looking for anything above 451.40-ish. This little line right here, might as well just leave it here. Anything above here is just looking for your daily high or low, right? Best case scenario is either we end up with a tightening range or they just crack the daily uptrend to the upside right away. But keep an eye on this level, guys. If we lose this level, we're in jeopardy of losing the daily uptrend. Could set up for the daily downtrend. But as of now, guys, looking fairly healthy. Not that much macro news this week, only earnings. So we'll see how it plays out. But no real red flags yet until we lose this level right here. QQQ, bit of the same thing, right? We do have our line in the sand level down here at roughly, 374.80-ish, right? This whole level right here. Don't want to lose. Same chart as the S&P 500. We're pretty much in a tightening range right now. We're looking for a potential daily higher low compared to these lows here to send the bulls to the upside. And I think especially on QQQ, Thursday, Amazon and Apple may just do it. If they both do well, we can see cracks of the highs. If they both do poorly, we may just see cracks of the lows, losing the daily uptrend, potentially setting up for a daily downtrend. But we know how hard it is for the bears to get these daily downtrends moving. If Apple and Amazon report badly, will bulls just buy the dip? Keep in mind, we have tons of space to pull back on the weekly if ever they do flush, but that is what we're looking for, guys. So keep an eye on the level right here. Bulls doing a good job here defending this 12 EMA. XLF financials, same thing, still looking for the daily higher low above 34.20, right? So this whole area right here is just a bull flag. Bull flag for potential follow through. Where are we targeting the follow through? 36 to 37 area resistance. I'll remind you, this is this big area of prior resistance here on the chart, right? So as long as the bulls remain healthy here and defend this 12 EMA as they've been doing, I do think that financials have a good chance of putting in an extra leg up here on the daily before potentially encountering some more resistance here and then giving us a slight pullback, something like that. Would be, you know, technically pretty sound, right? So bulls in full control at this point. Like I've been saying, weekly uptrend is in motion, right? So no fears there at all. The monthly I showed you guys yesterday, very nice. Looking for the monthly uptrend, right? With the higher lows compared to our previous lows. So all in all, financials bulls looking very healthy for some follow through. XLV Healthcare still in search of the daily higher low, right? So we're still looking for a higher low. Anything above 129.63 is just going to be for your daily higher low. Still looking for it. The bears coming down decently, but still healthy on the weekly uptrend. Still looking for the weekly higher low as well, right? Same levels pretty much almost, right? 128, 129 area. Looking for anything above here to be your higher low. We're getting into an area where there's some good horizontal support. We also have our moving averages down here on the weekly. So if you think that this move is flushing, just don't forget, zoom out on the weekly. Good support level down here. We've broken out of our range. And in my opinion, we're just getting the classic breakout, retest of the level, and then for a potential move higher. So bulls looking good, right? And in terms of this total move, I'll show you on the fib, right? The bears have only taken back almost 50%. So they can go all the way down here, right, to the 132 area, which funny enough, is pretty much our area of horizontal support, right? So you're going to get a lot of confluence down here if we keep pushing down. It's going to be very hard for the bears to flush in one step. The best that they can possibly do is set a lower high compared to here and then potentially continue to the downside. But like I said, that is still just for weekly consolidation. The bulls working with a lot of space, but kind of need to get their butts in gear soon if they want to really have a nice attempt here at your V-shape to new highs. Now, IWM Russell, a bit of a muted day as well, right? Sold off a bit in the morning, coming back here a bit in the evening and the after our afternoon session here, still dealing with our weekly resistance area, guys, right? So it's normal that we're encountering a lot of resistance up here, $200 psychological level. Bulls are kind of struggling with this. Anything above 193.40 is just going to be consolidation for your higher low, right? So you don't want to lose this area. Key area, same thing for SPY, same thing for QQQ. These charts all pretty much look the same. Just looking for a daily higher low for further continuation. Keep an eye on your 12 EMA, but if they flush this, could set up the motion for a daily downtrend. On the weekly, very healthy, guys. Look at all this space. Anything above 181 is just a weekly higher low in the event we do pull back on the longer time frames here. Dow Jones value names crushing it, especially with Caterpillar today, right? So Dow Jones, another 52-week high put in today, ever so slightly, closing a bit below, right? At this point, guys, we're looking pretty much anything above 35,200 to just be your daily higher low. It could do either pull back right away. We could do a tightening range at this area, but this area is definitely going to be key. You see confluence, horizontal support, and the 12 EMA is right there. Big move put in by the bulls. But if ever it tops out on the weekly, let's say, right? We have so much space, guys. Anything above 33,700 is just your weekly higher low. Same thing, breakout, potential retest of this area for further upside. I do think that the Dow Jones is going to revisit our all-time highs this year, especially if we get higher inflation reads in August and September, and we get a bit of juice taken out of tech. I think the rotation is going to happen, and this is where it's going to go into. So keep an eye out on your Dow Jones, looking very healthy, no red flags at all. Bitcoin breaking down today, but now rejected. They've recaptured the whole thing. So look at this move, right? Broke down, the bears couldn't flush, and now we've recaptured the entire move. So nice little daily doji candle formation, right? This is the area that we were expecting. We've been talking about it for a while, almost hit it to the T. 28,500, right? So daily downtrend still in motion. The bears actually followed through on their move like they were supposed to, but now they have just been recaptured by the bulls. So remains to be seen, guys. Do we continue our daily downtrend, or can the bulls actually put in a nice little upswing here, set a daily higher low, and recapture the daily uptrend? Remains to be seen. But if this today's low was the actual low, we're still looking for a weekly higher low, guys. And look, the 12 EMA was right there. That's why we picked that level. Still looking for your weekly higher low for bullish continuation. So the bulls control the monthly, they control the weekly. So whatever happens on this daily, right, unless we really flush, is of second nature importance. So Bitcoin, decent recovery, but still a lot of work to do. Now, Apple, right? Apple, big earnings on Thursday, right? So as I was saying, as expected, I don't think they will do much before earnings, right? So still kind of stuck in this little range here. Area to watch, 191.50. Keep an eye on this low here. Earnings, in my opinion, will send it either way. We're either going to get a Microsoft-like earnings where it sets up for a daily downtrend, or we're just going to crack to 52-week highs. But keep in mind, guys, Apple has run a lot. So unless they get some serious outperformance numbers on earnings, it could be likely that we may be due for a pullback, especially if they just come in line and don't give great guidance or whatnot. You could potentially expect a pullback on the stock. If it does pull back, guys, there's just so much space. Like I was showing you guys, they control the monthly as well. They control the weekly. So the bulls are in full control. Short-term price action, though, just keep an eye on this 191.45-ish area for earnings. But until earnings, guys, I think Apple does stay pretty muted. AMD, we just went over it for earnings. But like I was saying yesterday, guys, what's going to happen with AMD earnings? One of two things. We're going to flush the 108 area and set up a new daily downtrend, or the bulls are going to be able to recapture this and set up enough space so that the likely scenario becomes a higher low compared to this low down here and potential resumption of the daily uptrend. That is exactly what we got today. You guys can see we're trading at 122.40. 122.40 is all the way, pretty much all the way up here. So now the bulls are all the way up here. Now we've created a lot of space, right? A lot of space so that the likely scenario is going to become a higher low and potential resumption of the daily uptrend. So that is what I'm looking out for, guys. Great job by the bulls of recapturing this. Weekly as well, at this point, with our close here in the 122 zone all the way up here, we can pretty much confidently say that a weekly higher low is set at 108.40, right? So it's a double bottom, and now the bulls are trying to recapture the weekly uptrend for some more. So great job, guys. This was a higher low compared to our previous low of 107. So just eking out a weekly uptrend potential. We'll see how this week closes, but great job by the bulls. Amazon, bit of a red day here, 1.5%, but that's okay. The entire market was down. Amazon, what were we looking for? Like I was saying yesterday, guys, the new low is here, right? The bulls have created enough space that we're just now looking for a higher low for a recapture of a daily uptrend. So a lot of space to work with here, right? The EMAs are right here, so we're back above the moving averages. Decent formation by Amazon here. Would not be surprised if they are able to get that and launch higher. Obviously, resistance areas are set around the 137, but Amazon likely due for a bit of consolidation. Same thing as Apple, though. Earnings on Thursday, going to go either one of two ways. We're either going to come too low to where they could set up a daily downtrend and move into my sweet spot area down here, or if earnings are really good, we're just going to crack the highs and they're going to end up pulling a Facebook pretty much to where they've just recaptured daily uptrends and weekly, continue the weekly uptrend at the same time. So if that does happen, guys, if we do crack these highs on earnings, just keep an eye out. Your next levels of resistance, 145. But until earnings, guys, you know what I mean? Really not going to see much action at all. Even if it does taper down a bit, I think that earnings is going to be able to do one or the other scenario. It's good, though, that bulls have a lot of space to work with at this point. Now, we're going on to Google. Google, same thing as Amazon, as I just showed you, right? So Google, like I was saying in my previous videos, daily uptrend is confirmed. What are we looking for? Just looking for the daily higher low as we consolidate here. Keep an eye, 12 EMA, this yellow line right here, and your horizontal support level right around the 128 level. So good area of support, right? And if they do pull back, like I said, so much space, anything above 119.43, just going to be for your daily higher low. The bulls are in absolute full control of this chart. I showed you on the monthly. I showed you on the weekly yesterday as well, right? So weekly uptrend is well in motion, right? So any little pullback is just for a daily higher low. Tons of space to work with. The most likely scenario is they'll set the higher low, maybe around this area of confluence, and then move higher. If that is indeed what ends up happening, guys, you want to look at areas of resistance all the way up here to 145 on Google. So a lot of space still for the bulls to have it. Obviously, Google, I want Google, if we do pull back a bit more, I want Google 125 or better personally. Meta, decent little day here. Obviously, nothing much happening after the earnings day. We're still trading within this same range, but what are we looking for? This is a bull flag, right? So nice push up. Consolidation, looking for the higher low. Anything above pretty much 288.67, like I was saying, is your higher low. So we're just looking for that to potentially resume the daily uptrend. No red flags right now for Meta. Tons of space to work with. Keep an eye on your moving averages. They've loved to ride this 12 EMA this whole time. So bulls looking healthy, guys. No red flags. Weekly obviously is a monster, right? Your resistance area stays put between 330 and 340 on the weekly. No red flags at all, guys. Tons of space to look with. Look how much space we have to work with, right? To the lows. 10, 11%. That's a lot of space, right? So most likely scenario, guys, we're going to bull flag and potentially pop, especially if Amazon and Apple do well and we continue grinding higher. Microsoft also, nothing happening, right? Microsoft playing pretty good defense, if I do say so myself. Yeah, they're struggling with the moving averages above them, but playing pretty good defense, guys. Line in the sand level remains 326.88. This horizontal support right here, it's actually a tiny range, right? You can argue it's all the way from here all the way down to here, right? So 327 to 323 area, very important. What you want to see is bulls defend this. You want to see them eventually, if this happens up to be a tightening range, this is actually a bear flag on the daily, right? So bulls not able to push out much. You would think that the most likely scenario is this, but we all know it's Microsoft. It's a crowd favorite. If Apple and Amazon do well, would not surprise me if we get a Microsoft pop. In that case, we'll be looking to create as much space as possible to end up that a likely scenario becomes daily higher low for a recapture of the daily uptrend. But as of now, guys, still kind of trapped in this daily downtrend formation. Microsoft, a lot of space to work with. Massive move, right? Well, actually, you can start it from here. Massive move. We're just consolidating in this area. Look how many weeks we've kind of struggled with this whole area, right? Anywhere I know it's a big range, but still, right? 346 to 327, kind of just flat in this area, right? Microsoft does this sometimes where it just kind of consolidates in one area. Obviously, it's a wide range because the stock's a very high price, but still, I wouldn't say I'm nervous for Microsoft at all, to be honest with you. It really depends on Apple and Amazon and how the market reacts to that. But Microsoft playing very good defense. But if you're a bull, you need to see them do the setup. Need to recapture with a nice daily uptrend, up push, and then set the higher low, move up, recapture the daily uptrend, right? So that is what you want to see on Microsoft. NVIDIA not reacting to AMD so much. Let me check. AMD... They say anything bad? No, AMD still good, still doing good. So NVIDIA here, right? NVIDIA doing a good job here. Also fairly muted, guys. We really haven't been doing much ever since Friday, right? So fairly muted. We're basically kind of in this tightening range pattern at the highs here, which is pretty good. I mean, this is pretty much a weekly, it's going to be a weekly bull flag, right? So we're pretty much flagging at the top here, tightening range, which is a decent scenario. What you don't want to see is a flush of 440. If you lose 440, guys, then you set up the daily downtrend, right? High, lower high, low, and potentially lower low if we crack below it. You'd set up the daily downtrend. If ever you do lose that level, I will reiterate, you just zoom out to the weekly. At the weekly, then you'll be looking for weekly consolidation. Anything above 400 down here is going to be a weekly higher low. Tons of space to work with, guys, for the bulls. But as of now, just kind of tightening up here. Really need to wait to see it break. It's either going to break one of two ways, guys. We're either going to set up for the daily downtrend into weekly consolidation, or we're just going to resume the daily uptrend to the highs, crack our highs here. But really, as of now, guys, no red flags until one of these two areas break. It's going to be tough to get a sense of direction here, but flagging at the top here, nice little tightening range. Anyways, NVIDIA, too rich for me up here, right? Even if we do pull back a bit, even if we pull back to 400, it would still be too rich for me. Personally, that's why I have more exposure to AMD. Tesla, well, bears did lose a bit of their momentum. I mean, the bulls did lose a bit of their momentum today, struggling with this 12 EMA, right, guys? That's why the 12 EMA is so important. You can see they've used it as support in the past, right? But now that we're under it, look how many days we've struggled with this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days we've struggled. The bulls wanted to push, but we have some overhead resistance here, right? So now, kind of in a tightening range here at the bottom of the bear move, right? So on the weekly, you could say that this is potentially a weekly bear flag for potential downside continuation. Remains to be seen here. Tesla's notorious for being able to reverse these in a pretty good one-shot motion, right? But the area that you need to watch out for, 255, guys, crucial. If we continue tightening up here, right, this range is going to break one of two ways. If it breaks to the downside, your daily downtrend is reconfirmed. Your weekly downtrend at that point would be confirmed. We'll be looking out below to 240. If we do end up in a weekly downtrend, guys, monthly consolidation is underway. Weekly downtrend, monthly consolidation is underway. Tons of space, right? Look out for my sweet spot, 230 all the way down to 210. I would definitely be picking up extra Tesla shares, but for now, one day at a time, keep an eye, 255. And obviously, if this range breaks to the tightening range to the upside here, well, the bulls just need to put in enough space so that the likely scenario becomes a higher low compared to this low right here, reset the daily uptrend, and then we will be back off to the races. But for now, just consolidating in this very tight range, guys. So two key levels, daily support, 255, and then our weekly level here, 240. All right, so keep that in mind. Tesla, decent premiums also below 250s somewhat here. So looking good. PayPal earnings on Wednesday, right? So keep an eye on that. PayPal, very good performance, guys. Anything above 71, just call it, 71.90-ish is just going to be your daily higher low. Right, so good movement by PayPal here. We also have some horizontal support, previous resistance, that now we're kind of using as support today. So good bounce by the bulls, opened up nasty, but we got a good little bounce here into the end of the day, selling off a bit in the after hours. Not too sure why, wasn't any PayPal specific news, right? So in this case, looking out for the daily higher low earnings on Wednesday. One of two possibilities, guys. We're either going to get an earnings disaster like we've had in the past several times for PayPal in the past, right? Earnings hasn't been the best, but I'm expecting now that PayPal is nearing the bottom end of its earnings guidance, meaning I think they have already downplayed their performance for several quarters in a row now, that any positive outlook or guidance whatsoever to the tune that their business is now healthy, they've controlled costs and the likes, right? I think we're actually going to get a decent pop on PayPal. I could be wrong, obviously, but that is my bias. So as of now, a lot of space, guys, for the bulls to work with here as of today, right? Still about 5% almost to the lows here. So one of two things, guys, probably not going to do much before earnings. On earnings, either looking for the flush, which would send us to weekly consolidation. Weekly consolidation here. Wrong tool. Weekly consolidation, guys, anything above 65.50 is just going to be for your weekly higher low. Nice little weekly uptrend, right? Weekly uptrend. So the bulls control that, right? We've now recaptured our last earnings move entirely. So tons of space to work with if ever we do pull back. And on the daily, what are we looking for here? To the upside, guys, need to crack. And, PayPal's pretty close, right? If we get an 8 to 10% push from 75, that would be about 82. So that would put us well above this area of resistance here, right? So we have to deal with this whole $78 area of resistance, which is going to be pretty nasty. But I do think that if earnings performs well, it'll be enough to take us over that. And we'll kind of pull a Google, right? Gap up here, and then have a lot of space to come back and sit on this area here, right? As the breakout retest move. That would be the best possible move, in my opinion, to happen for PayPal. But if we move lower for some reason, right, well, we will have to deal from it from there. But like I said, tons of space above our weekly higher low down here to be set. Palantir, $20. Palantir bulls, almost unstoppable, right? Anything above 16, daily higher low, guys, pushing. Like I was saying in yesterday's video, guys, we're going to be dealing with some resistance here. 20 to 25 area. This whole zone here is going to act as some sell side pressure. I do still believe that a lot of people are still trapped in the stock from IPO. So it's very possible that a lot of them will want to take profits. That's why it's going to be tough for Palantir to just rocket through this area up to 30 without, as if this area wasn't there in the first place. So just keep an eye on that. We've already hit my price target for the end of the year. I wanted Palantir to hit 20 by the end of the year. We are pretty much there right now. So if we do pull back, guys, very, very healthy daily chart, anything above 16 for a daily high or low. Keep an eye on your moving averages. And on the weekly, still bunch of space, anything above 1378 for a pullback is just going to be a weekly high or low. Palantir looking very, very, very solid. Now, for the account, guys, the account dropped a bit today here. That was due to my Canadian banking stocks going down, Bitcoin going down, my Estee Lauder call going down, and a number of my positions just not performing too well at all. So a bit of a down day for me, but overall still good, guys. We're still over about 60% on the year. Can't complain about that at all. Still outperforming SPY and QQQ, right? You'll see I'll refresh this for SPY as well, right? SPY only up about 19%, probably a bit less after today's performance. All on the position size here, guys, you saw that virtually unchanged since yesterday. Still have my AAs, they're a bit higher than what I wrote them for. So we're going to ride these out. And if you didn't see these positions, go to the end of yesterday's video. The AMDs, right? AMDs should be worthless tomorrow. I have the 104s, AMD trading 122 right now. So these should be worthless tomorrow. We're going to be able to close these for a nice profit. CSIQs, still in them, right? CSIQ had a bit of a down day today, but I'm still okay. Still a decent amount. I think they're at 3560, 3570. So still a decent amount of space before I get assigned. These Teslas, obviously still holding them. They're just in pair with the shares down here in the money covered calls, wanting to hedge my downside risk if ever we break through the 255 area. Nike 109s still in play. Nike trading around today. I think they were like 109.60-ish by the close. 109.40 by the close. So might have a risk of being assigned on Nike, but in my opinion, not too big of a deal. I wouldn't mind picking up the shares down here. I do still think that they have some good upside here. We're just looking to essentially reverse this weekly chart at this point. Even if we do continue to tighten up, I'll be able to write some covered calls on those fairly easily. So not too worried. And Starbucks, I did take an earnings gamble, 95s and 92s for this Friday, right? So Starbucks being a bit of a value play doesn't move too much. We'll see how it opens tomorrow, but I should be pretty good, guys. My average cost with the premiums included is 92.60. Really pretty good between those two positions here. So I think I have a lot of room to work with. Why did I write the 95s there? You'll see, guys, 95, right? This line right here, 95, you'll see that it's below our more weekly support levels, right? So very, very good area ever since they cracked through here last November. This has been a good area of support. And if we do pull back a bit further, I have the 200 weekly moving average right here, right? So that's kind of what I was basing my analysis off of. I wouldn't mind owning Starbucks at those strikes. If I would own Starbucks at those strikes, right? Let's say I get assigned and my average cost is 92.60 across them all. It'd be a 27% discount on Starbucks. Fairly good deal. That's why I wrote them. So you see I did one here at 92 for 27 cents and one here at 66 cents for the 95 strike. The SEs still in play, decent, we're slightly up on the position right now, so nothing major. And the end phases, we closed the end phases. So you saw, guys, I wrote them at 91 cents last Friday. I said yesterday's video I was going to close them today. And that's exactly what happened. We closed them today for a nice profit for 17 cents. You can see it back here. We wrote them, let me show you guys, end phase wrote for 92 cents last Friday, right? So all in all, very decent day, not much movement in the portfolio. I will be closing the AMDs tomorrow probably and the Starbucks, so capturing a bit more profit. And obviously on the Teslas here, we do have about $240 of rolled credits for this week. So every week that Tesla just basically does nothing, I just roll these calls, accumulate more premium until I get my break even. If we start dropping, I'll just ride the stock down for free pretty much. So looking forward to be able to eventually exit this position, gain a bit of buying power back, because obviously we're kind of, stuck with around, $48,000, $50,000 worth of buying power in Teslas. So that's pretty much it. I'll be looking for more opportunities tomorrow as they come, but not riding too heavy into this week as well, kind of doing about maybe 60, 70% of my total allotted buying power, right? So still not at full potential. Really want to get through these earnings to go back to normal here. So we'll see what Apple and Amazon say. So that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. I hope you appreciated it. If you did, consider giving me a like, consider subscribing. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments if you want me to look at any stocks. My play that I bought yesterday, right? PSA, you remember I bought a leap call and I bought some shares, right? At the 280, it was around 282, 283 yesterday. We're down a bit on those, but just want to reiterate, guys, that this is a long-term play. I love this company. I'm really not worried about it in the slightest here. But as you can see, you know, sometimes you buy plays at lows and they just continue dipping a bit. That is perfectly fine. I'll keep you guys updated on this one since it's a newer position. So that being said, guys, I will see you guys after the close tomorrow. Keep an eye on earnings tomorrow. PayPal, Shopify, Unity, Robinhood, Etsy, for those of you who like Etsy. And before, the one I'm looking for, guys, is Generac. All right? So take care, guys. Hope you had a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.